Spider-Man can only lift 10 tons, 20 tons or 25 tons with extreme difficulty, or 40 or 50 tons in newer comics because he's made improvements, right? Wrong. I mean, it's not all the way your fault that you think he can only lift 10 tons because it's not like Marvel Comics has made it easy for you, especially in the handbooks when they say BS like he can approximately lift 10 tons, implying that's his max when it's really not. It's kind of the same concept on how they say Thor can lift 100 tons when that's obviously an oversimplification. He can lift way more than that. Like, there's literally panels of statements of Thor being able to lift millions of tons, guys. They say he can lift 100 tons, but yet he can bench press small planets. And planets can weigh quintillions, sextillions, or above when it comes to weight. You know, an entire planet's heavy. Imagine somebody writing an essay about me, and I'm in real life right quick, right? I'm a 200-pound man, right? I'm about 6'3". Imagine somebody saying he can lift about 5 pounds. Like, of course, yeah, I can lift 5 pounds, but that's like a literal oversimplification. That's nowhere near my max. That's kind of what they do with these comic book characters. Like, yeah, technically they aren't wrong. I can lift 5 pounds, but no duh, I'm 200 pounds. Of course I can lift 5 pounds. Why even bring up 5 pounds? That's the thing about Thor. Like, if he can lift 100 tons, why even bring up 100 tons when he can lift sextillions? You see what I'm saying? Like, don't even bring up the ton thing in the first place. It's better that way. Like, why say in a handbook that I can lift 5 pounds when I can lift closer or bench press closer to around 300 pounds? That would be more closer to approaching my limit. That would make more sense. This is kind of the similar concept they use for spider characters. They say they can lift a certain amount of weight, but yet they have plenty of feats lifting way more. Yeah, I'm ready for this game, by the way. One way to look at it is like classes, I would say, even though they ruined it with the word ton. So numbers like this are just straight up deceitful. My solution to this would be to get rid of the word ton and just keep the word class. That would eliminate confusion when it comes to understanding these characters' true limits. Now, if they want to say it like this is more acceptable. It's no real limit on how much they can really lift because it's just a class system. That's better to understand of it. That's how it is when it comes to spider characters. You know how Spider-Man always hangs out in New York and a subway car literally is confirmed to be at least 40 tons, but he can lift approximately 10 tons. That's definitely a lie. I mean, right off gate, we've seen Spider-Man lift buses and even lift up tanks. Things that literally weigh 50 tons, 60 plus tons, blah, blah, blah. There's no way his max can be 10 tons. Like, why even bring up 10 tons if he can lift way more than that effortlessly? Even Wikipedia says what kind of tank this was. This was a T90 tank that Spider-Man lifted. It has to be at least in the 40-ton range, bare minimum, all the way up to 50 tons possibly. A T90 tank is what he lifted based on the evidence of Wikipedia showing the stats of it. So yeah, he can definitely lift over 10 tons. Oh, by the way, this also confirms that he can hit thanks to his super strength. He can hit hard. My bad, though. I don't want to ramble or rant too much. So let's analyze Spider-Man, shall we? Characters like Adam Warlock call Spider-Man a true warrior. Even confirmed by Black Panther, he's a warrior with the heart of a king, which is why he can eat the heart-shaped herb. You can only eat them if you are a warrior worthy, being king, and ingest it. He can eat these type of things. The main one, Peter Parker. You guys know the story. I'm not about to spend a lot of time on this. Everybody and their mother knows the story, how he was bitten by a radioactive spider and was gifted with amazing spider-like powers, including super strength, speed, sticking to surfaces like an actual spider, and all the good stuff we already know of. I mean, honestly, who doesn't know about his story? He's one of the most popular characters in Marvel history. Just like most spider characters, they have a horrible backstory. Both his parents are not in the equation. You see him here when he was real young, though. Something he does that's real relatable, having powers, make some money off of it. Like, imagine being a YouTuber making money off of YouTube while having superpowers like this. You would always have content to film. Lost his Uncle Ben in a burglar. The movies pretty much get it spot on how he let the guy get away, and that's how Uncle Ben got. So yeah, he devoted his life to being a superhero, got a job at the Daily Bugle, taking pictures. He's went through a number of different adventures. Yeah, I'm talking about weird adventures, like legitly getting spider-like appearances and stuff. Got his own foes. A lot of these foes you're going to see me bring up a lot in this video, so I'm just going to give you a heads up on that. Because one of the best ways to understand how strong he is to understand his foes that he always has to fight on a consistent basis. It's seriously a part of his lore. He's a big presence in the Marvel Universe. He's been on all kinds of organizations like the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, and one of my favorite outfits of all time, the Future Foundation outfit. Don't this thing look sweet? So just to give you a brief overview, he does have indeed super strength, which I'm going to go over. I'm going to come back to again in a couple seconds. He has super strength that he can use in combat to punch real hard, like punching holes in walls, for example. His body is more durable than normal because even when he's not wearing really that much protection or no armor, he can get thrown through multiple walls and stay conscious after such a thing. Like, he doesn't heal like Wolverine or nothing, but it's implied he does have a faster healing factor than normal people. This should be expected, even stated here. recovers faster than normal from the same stuff other people got. In this occasion, for example, when he got like a medical scan, it's pretty much confirmed that his body's healed faster than normal. One can say willpower is the ultimate defense for mind control and telepathic type stuff. Let's just say Spider-Man has a lot of willpower. I mean, in this occasion, and throughout the years of him fighting mind reader type people, he's built resistance to it. Stated on occasions like this, that his mind and body have been taken over by a lot of entities, yet he always seems to throw them off. His body must perceive us as an infection, built up partial immunity. He's not actually Spider-Man, he's an actual antibody. If you try to go in his mind, his antibodies or resistances would try to kick you out, so he has defense against mind control type stuff. So just because your character has mind manipulative type of abilities doesn't mean that's an automatic win for your character. He can still counter such things with his own partial immunity, or one could say antibodies, within himself. Even when you hit him with a whole bunch of guilt, he can power through it, powering through hallucinations, because his mind is ridiculously strong. This dude, Spider-Man, is so paranoid that he put something in his body, a chip in his body, that would prevent people from being able to body swap. He has absurd reflexes. I don't want to get too confusing and mystical, but his spider sense is telepathic in nature, because it's like our spider sense. It's like a psychic strands of webbing reaching into the world. Let's explain here about how spider sense works. Those that are confused about it, it's a personal warning system. Spider sense not only warns him of danger, but also gives him ideas of how different scenarios will work. It reacts to any form of danger or menace. He can't be caught by surprise. No one, including his own wife, can sneak up on him to ambush him from behind. Sometimes it's so sensitive he doesn't even know what he's sensing, like he might have a hidden weapon or something. It's also like a personal radar unit. It can safely guide him through complete darkness or the most complicated maze, even when my mind is millions of miles away. But it's most awfully used in a fight, of course. Since it instinctively causes him to avoid danger, he's a real hard man to lay a hand on. And he said his spider speed helps out all this stuff as well. Trying to do sneak attacks on Peter is kind of crazy, because one could say his spider sense is what helps him with his combat speed, because he kind of already knows there's danger coming. So he kind of already knows what you're going to do before you do it. It gives him a heads up, or one could say a slight glimpse in the future. This could help his fighting speed. So trying to ambush him or throw him in a trap isn't like the greatest idea. That's why he can still kind of get stuff done while blindfolded. It stops him before he crashes into anything. He can sense danger even if the person you're sensing or he's sensing isn't necessarily doing anything bad at that exact second. He can dodge invisible attacks. You might as well say he has cosmic awareness, because when other beings that are top tier can sense stuff, you know he can sense it too. He knows when something's about to blow up even before it blows up. His wall-crawling, sticky nature is the reason why he can stay on a swerving car. Along with his powers to sell the whole spider-like theme, he does have tech too, because Peter is actually pretty smart. One could say this is his standard equipment because, yeah, he's known for web slinging because of these web cartridges. Making stuff like this at such a young age, even as a teen, just gives you an idea of his intelligence. You see him make his web into all different type of constructs, like on some Green Lantern construct type stuff. He can make web pouches. I don't make this stuff up. Like, no matter which new suit he gets, I think this would be considered standard gear. He always has like a utility belt. Yeah, of course, Peter has to be able to use this utility belt and use it with a camera, right? Techie stuff. Gas mask in his suits, even in older comics, that's pretty crazy. Think of Spider-Man like an artist with his web. I mean, we've seen him make web shields, parachutes, glider, slingshot, blunt web bullet or web ball attacks that can knock out beings with concussive force, made it like a legit web raft to where you can ride on it like a boat. The creativity is endless. You can trap your feet and legs. Like here, he shields against flame against a human torch. Here, he makes like some giant hammer. And he can trap you with his web if you're trying to run away. No, you ain't going nowhere. You're trapped. Web umbrellas, web gas masks. Literally make his own wings to fly, web wings. Imagine somebody making a baseball bat web to hit you with. Throughout his adventures, he ends up getting web, via modifications that end up last several years, adding different elemental stuff to his cartridges, even without talking about his super crazy overpowered battle suits that I'm going to talk about in this vid too. Like it's even stated here, he cooked up some web fluid laced with hydrofluoric acid. It's dissolving your individual granules. These are perfect things to use against certain villains that he has to go against, like elemental beings like Sandman. This is perfect counters for this. Just like him, he has villains that are smart and they have devices that kind of counter his stickiness of his web. So he changed the formula to where it actually does stick. Regardless of it supposedly being stick proof, he made it to where it sticks anyway. It's insane, but he even had magnetic webbing that blocks all radio frequencies. Like, how? I mean, he can already physically box it with symbiote beings, but symbiote users, he can mess up with his gear too. Yeah, he's actually pretty good with prep time. He has like these spider tracers that will insta-freeze you. Like, what? When he's in his different outfits or better gear or armors, he has spider tracers that's made out of antimetal. aka Antarctic Vibranium, destroys all metals, can shoot these out as projectiles. Crazy. Lie detector tracers. Got this little cryo ice cube thingy where he can freeze stuff and then unfreeze it as he wishes to preserve them. Yo, notice when all the smart people get together, guess who's also in the room? Peter. They even call him Smart Guy. He's a guy that's smart enough to have an IQ of over 250, called a super genius, had similar test scores to Reed Richards. Of course, when Reed Richards was younger. And yes, he is like Batman when it comes to prep time. He has contingencies for everybody, even somebody like the Hulk, he says. He explains it here. Even when he's in a room with super smart people like Reed Richards, his intellect is still considered formidable despite this. Spider-Man and Reed Richards are having like a geek out fest talking about how smart each other are. And Reed Richards says, oh man, don't make no big deal of me. If you had the same resources I had, aka money, because you know Spider-Man be broke a lot throughout his career, he believes that Spider-Man will be able to do similar when it comes to inventions. Hank and him were comparing inventions. Hank pretty much talks about how impressive this is. Spider-Man makes it seem like it's no big deal. He says, some kid is that much smarter than me. He's referring to Spider-Man when it comes to these helmets and stuff. Everybody knows how Beast is smart. Smart people got to stay in contact with one another. You know, people like Reed and Peter are the people that he calls up when he wants to talk about smart stuff. When they call up a meeting with the smart people, you know, he's always in it. Dr. Peter Parker. They even called him Smart Dude. Like, I can't make this stuff up. Like, there literally was a contest of raw brain power. Yeah, where their brains power collides and you get to see his brain power against Dr. Octopus. Like, this is a contest of brain power. I must concentrate. My brain is stronger than yours. Is it though? No, it's not. His raw brain power, he defeated him in a battle of minds. Beat Doc Ock in a battle of brains or minds. Spider-Man thinks he's as smart as Stark and Hank. I mean, this can't be all the way wrong. Hank kind of did agree. Nick Fury believes he's one of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s biggest brains. I mean, it's kind of confirmed when Spider-Man threatened, you want me to keep making tech for S.H.I.E.L.D., implying that he does help out S.H.I.E.L.D. when it comes to tech, and he's a strong mind. It's implied here that Reed believes that Spider-Man is enough of a science nerd to keep, one could say, replace him, kinda. Spider-Gwen, alternate universe Gwen Stacy, even says he's one of the smartest people she knows. He had suits like this when he was trying to clear his name, when he was framed for murder. Like, this is what I would call his standard gear, the main gear he has on all the time. This is what you see him looking like most of the time, but he does have other gears throughout his adventures. The Spider Armor Mark 1, one of my favorite suits of all time. It looks dope. You got his Mark 2. Hey, this wouldn't be a Spider Armor if it wasn't bulletproof, right? Webbing up, y'all. 3, he makes these different suits to get through the different tasks at hand, like being able to see through Mysterio's illusions. And his armor isn't here for show. It's actually electric proof to some degree. This suit is heavy duty. I mean, it is built to fight the latest incarnation of the Sinister Six, the organization of his toughest foes. It boosts Spider-Man's strength and speed, granting him flight and invisibility, blah, 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 as well as housing Iron Man repulsors. So yeah, this is a battle suit. 4, this suit actually increases Spider-Man's physical strength to an unknown amount. Not gonna lie, I'm really feeling this suit. I mean, it's like liquid metal-ish type of nanotech type of stuff. The way he can suit up or power down, suit down, it kind of reminds me of that type of thing. By the way he suits up, it's easy for him to get changed or unchanged. Heck, this suit is so good compared to his other armors, he doesn't even need his stealth suit to go in stealth mode. In this new armor, he can go in stealth mode. Yeah, he's pretty techy right here. Got his vehicles, yeah, these epic looking suits just keep getting crazier. His Iron Man suit, one could say the Iron Spider. When it comes to this Iron Spider suit, one could say this was like a team effort. Iron Man helped him out with that, build that Iron Spider suit. One of the most epic suits. You know, Iron Man is basically the guy I consider the king of battle suits, so of course this suit is epic if somebody like him helped him out with it. It's just an overview of what it's made of. It's a pretty epic and techy suit, one could say. Liquid metal nanofiber, cool techy stuff. Has its own camouflage mode, and you guessed it, here's an overview on how it looks and how the layout of it and stuff is made. Is really techy-like. Suit has its own oxygen supply, respond to his thoughts. He can just think it and it happens, and that's why he goes camouflage mode here, for example. He just thought it. It can do stuff that comes in handy, like counter Electro's blast by withstanding or absorbing his blast, and blast you back with the feedback. Of course, it got zoom in vision and a targeting mode. It can't be called a spider armor if it actually isn't bulletproof. These type of different suits can kind of give you an idea if Peter Parker had money. There was a period of time where he actually had resources. A suit that can actually go in stealth mode, go invisible, and it's impervious to sonic attacks. High-techy type suits. Remember Miguel, you know, Spider-Man 2099? Peter Parker is the reason why he got like a new suit. Part of the reason why he got a new suit. Isn't that cool? Peter got this suit that actually makes him, stated in narration, stronger and faster, but to what degree, we don't really know. Okay, I'm starting to lose track of how many suits this dude got. Osborn suits where He's kind of like he's a goblin. Got his own glider. He can throw projectiles. That's cheating literally all those spiders in Vulture's face. And then it can circle around and connect back to his back. He's had a lot of designs. He got this armor during this Fortnite and Marvel crossover. Yeah, don't ask. Throughout his years, he's had different type of webs he's had to concoct depending on the opponent. It's actually stuff like this on why he has to face certain opponents that are not fair to fight, like beings made out of literal water. He has to make scientific stuff to counter beings like this. This dude actually had acid webbing that he's had to use in different scenarios to melt through stuff or melt cables. Like, he legitimately has different web modes, like Web Shooters Cartridge 6, Cartridge 4, Cartridge 3. Like, bro got legit web modes. Modes made that can even counter technology. So this one in particular, he calls Bug Zapper. He's used stuff like this against Silver Sable to take her out of stealth mode, Cartridge 6. That's the type of gear that comes in handy. He thought I was done. He got a different web mode, Cartridge 8, Expanding Foam, that he can blast you with. So in a way, Spider-Man can be kind of versatile, depending on which point in the career we're talking about. This is like later on in his career, of course, having all these different web modes. I can't make this stuff up. Legit concrete webbing, guys. Like, are you serious? Stuff like this would help stabilize a building, but that's none of my business. Web cement, techie type suit, you know what I mean? Like, this suit can just change appearances at will. And if you touch his suit without his permission, he can kind of have it shock you, because if his spider tech still works, it will do that to you. You know, it's got the special sight modes, like infrared, X-ray. He can even set his lens to detect magical energy. He has spider tracers, even explosive spider tracers, to not only track a being, but also have it explode. Let's analyze Spider-Man's true strength, shall we? Let's get it. Like, I don't want to focus on his tech too much because his superpowers giving him spider-like strength is already amazing. Characters like Hulk say Spider-Man is strong, of course, but of course Hulk says he himself is stronger, of course. Hulk, when he was smart in this situation, actually felt Spider-Man move when they was trying to restrain Spider-Man. Thor even said the same. Strength is impressive for a mortal. Don't ask, but there was like gods like Hercules that like became spider-like for a little bit. He thinks having spider power will be enough to make him considered to be believable to be divine again and take his place on Olympus. Like, bro, what, you think Spider-Man's strength makes you be able to stand with the deities? Oh boy, Spider-Man strength in this video. You gonna love it. Normal 200-pound humans, y'all are ridiculously light compared to his strength. And he can send you way in the air, even if you're Punisher. Just because you're a good fighter doesn't mean his super strength won't give him an advantage, like throwing you really high. Even when characters like Punisher hit him, it doesn't really seem to do that much. Spider-Man's way more durable than your average human. You got to put more juice behind that. Super soldier tiers like Daredevil even straight up say he's far stronger than him. He moves faster. So there's a gap in strength between spider tiers and super soldiers because we know Daredevil's physically crazy when it comes to strength and he's no match for Spider-Man physically. I mean, Spider-Man's so strong, he will surprise you. Even if you're pretty strong characters and y'all dogpile him, he can push all of y'all off of him, even if you're Gamora and Quicksilver. I think we all can agree whatever somebody's grip strength and stuff can do, their chest, their legs, and things like that can do more. Spider-Man is no exception, and his grip strength's enough to do this to metal bars on its own. No matter which era, really, we're talking about steel cables he can still bend. Of course, he's fought many foes, Dr. Octopus being one of them. You can kind of get an idea of his strength by how Spider-Man treats these arms, these titanium arms. You can get an idea of what they're made of in this section right here of his handbook entry, and Spider-Man's raw strength can do this to these arms. Like in this particular occasion, this is like newer as type comics. He has his Spider-Man battle suit on, and we see him like with his raw strength bust out of these super arms. 1-inch steel doors. This is the kind of stuff he can bend with his spider strength. Even bigger ones, like 3 inches, he still can rip open with his raw strength. Interacting with other spider people, you know, this Chimney, no, this is light work for him. There was something that Inductor is surrounded by an intense electromagnetic field. There's no force on Earth that could break that connection. They apparently stayed. Well, I guess those people haven't met Spider-Man because Spider-Man can use his strength to sever such a connection. I mean, he's so many dozens of times stronger than normal humans. Even if they dogpile him with a whole bunch of SWAT people with armor, he can still blow all of them off of him with his physical strength. Spider-Man can stop arms that has the strength of 100 men. This is light work. Stuff like this is proven where he's able to withstand the power when Graviton's putting 10 times normal gravity on him. So right off gate, you know a car can weigh 1 or 2 tons. This is nowhere near his max because he can actually sling a car. It's one thing to catch a car, but catching a car thrown at him by a powerhouse like the Hulk, that's even more impressive. So he has to catch the weight of it and the force that Hulk put behind it. You see this roller coaster? He's strong enough to move such things or pull the train. Not only is he strong enough to use a light pole as a weapon, but he can, you see how big this junk is? He can stop it by using it as a weapon. Imagine being in thick concrete, hard concrete, and you have to dig your way out and bust out to save yourself. That's what Spider-Man had to go through. Obviously, helicopters vary in size, but they can weigh 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, 5 tons, whatever you want to look at it like. Don't ask Peter, was this being on his prodigy for a little bit? Yeah. So the scans I'm about to show you in like literally 2 seconds, that's why he looks different. He has the super strength to hold down a helicopter, even when it's actually trying to fly away. He ain't having that. You know, trucks like this that's fully loaded, might I add, with stuff on it. He's strong enough to pretty much lift it up with his strength and everything like that. We've even seen him use a truck as a weapon to push it against a super strong being and cracking the concrete next to it. This is vicious. He can catch armored vehicles. Pulling vehicles is so easy to him. Like in the middle of a combat fight, he could just randomly web it and pull it to hit you. What do you think? Do you think there's a vehicle he can't lift? Like, just look how small he looks in compared to certain vehicles. We see Spider-Man toss trucks like this, along with using his web, of course. Oh, what do you know? Another armored car he flips off of him with his strength. Of course, more vehicles, along with a being pushing against the vehicle he can stop with strength. This entire wall was coming down in one of his many occasions fighting his Scorpion. Spider-Man was strong enough to hold it to get everybody clear. There was literally a stadium floor that was about to collapse, and he had to save the innocents here before the floor collapses, holding it up so they can get free. Like, we actually got to confirm the weight that this is actually 3 tons. He can swing around, proving that there's nowhere near his limit. Even when a whole bunch of rubble falls on him, yes, this much, he can just lift all that out of the way. If there's nothing to grab nearby, he can just use his physical strength to grab the ground and rip out a big chunk just like that. Can swing around big crates. He can already hold down 1 helicopter, but what about 2? He can pull with his raw strength at the same dang time, pulling 2 helicopters down to a tank. Oh, what do you know? Catching helicopters again. You guys answer me this. How much weight is this? Yes, I know he uses web too, but just because he uses web doesn't mean he should have the strength to hold this up. This is physical might, along with his web helping him be able to grab something this big, of course. With his strength, he has standard gear. I hope you haven't forgotten about that. Is extremely strong. Regular swords can't get through it, stated here. Just for the record, we know this is web and this is not necessarily his physical strength, but we know he can rip out of his own web. Just wanted to throw that out there. Like, we've seen his web support a lot of debris on plenty of occasions. Matter of fact, it was helpful in keeping a building from falling apart, so it lets you know how strong he is. He can rip out pieces of his web, even though this is a lot of pieces of web, of course. Oh, Spider-Man can tear up in a safe vault, but that's none of my business. This visual of his strength bending these super thick beams, when there was like a collapsing tunnel, for example, and he had to hold all this, stated here that Spidey's keeping the roof from caving in, just to give you an idea of his strength. He's strong enough to literally lift or hold up subway cars. Just by a simple Google search, they have to weigh at least 38 tons, which is above 10 tons. So not only can he lift more than 10 tons, but if he was to have his own weight set, he would be able to lift 10 tons on each side of the weight bar, if we're being honest. Not to mention, there's implication that this isn't necessarily a strain or anything. We just really getting started, and it's already proven he can lift at least close to 40 tons. I mean, there's evidence he can do more. I'm going to bring up Venom a lot in this video, so I'm just giving y'all a heads up on that. When it comes to buildings, the kind of strength he can produce, along with his web being ridiculously sticky, look how hard he can pull. He can pull an entire building down. Like, this wasn't the biggest building of all time or nothing, but yeah, it was a few stories tall, and he was strong enough to pull it down with his raw strength still. I mean, he did similar building destruction type stuff when it comes to lifting a lot of weight here, for example, like causing a little earthquake here. These characters didn't know what was going on. Spider-Man breaks off a part of a building. Yeah, this is scary because he's pushing from underneath and broke it off into the water that way. Like right here, this is the warehouse. This is how it looked before Spider-Man got his hands on it, before he dished it into the water. Doing this, like, somebody explain how he did this. Making all the villains get in the water, looking all helpless, don't they? And of course, at one of his many battles, he has the strength along with his web to give him extended range. He was able to pull beings that are real big compared to him. Despite the size difference, he can still throw them and sling them and crack the wall. You can get an idea of how big this entity is that Spider-Man had to sling. Despite his massive size, it doesn't seem to matter, because when you're a Spider character, size isn't everything, and he freaking tossed them freaking high in the air. When it comes to building size beings, Spider-Man has been shown to have the strength to give these type of beings issues with his raw strength, pulling them, for example. On this website called How Stuff Works, you can get an idea of these construction cranes. There's different weights they could be. There's some that's 18 plus tons. There's no exact way to metric to understand how big this one that Spider-Man helped stop. You can just kind of see it compared to buildings. It was not small just from the visuals. So it's fair to say he can at least hold or support 18 tons here, especially in this situation. I mean, we already know he can lift more than 40 tons at this point in the video. This right here just adds some kind of more fuel on his spider-like strength, and that, yeah, he can actually do it. There's an occasion with this airplane, for example, like it literally gave us the weight. There's no excuse or no calculations needed on how much weight he had to support or lift. Like this plane he had to support, it literally states the weight. This was at least 50 plus tons. that he had to deal with his muscles and everything. So it's pretty much confirmed he can lift 55 plus tons at this point in the vid. There's different type of tanks. You know, these thick super tanks that weigh at least 40 plus tons or even up to 50 tons based on Wikipedia. This T90 tank, this pretty much adds more fuel to the fire. What I've already been saying, how he can lift at least 40 to 50 tons. This looks like low difficulty, even slamming it. Stuff like this further adds to the fact that he can easily lift 50 tons. It's not enough to be able to lift these big tanks up, but he can like twirl them around to show how strong he is to even destroy another tank by ramming it into it. If you thought all that tank lifting stuff was impressive, what if I told you Spider-Man can actually hold the weight of an actual locomotive? Like in this particular scan, there was like some debris that was stated that it outweighs an actual locomotive. Sure, this is just a statement and this was a lot of debris and it's extremely hard to calculate, but if we take what he's saying seriously, that would mean he at least had to push up or lift up 200 tons. One locomotive weighs as much as 100 hippos, this many pounds, 400,000 pounds. Even when you go to different websites, we get different weights for it, all agreeing that it has to weigh at least 200 tons. Don't you love that we know that Spider-Man can lift 200 plus tons, but yet one of the villains he's having a hard time breaking out of his grip, Rhino, for example, it's stated here he can lift up to 80 tons. He can clearly lift more if he's overpowering Spider-Man, somebody we know can lift 200 tons. You know, you see, it's like the writers don't really know how much 80 tons really is. You know what I mean? Puns. Gotta love it. Impressed with this spider strength yet? Like right here, there was this a situation when it comes to trains and machinery. He was up under and had to deal with such crazy magnitudes of weight on his own. And thanks to willpower, pushes through still. If you thought him supporting up 200 tons was impressive, what about supporting thousands of tons? You're probably like, what? No way. Spider-Man was holding up a piece of the Daily Bugle building. That was this really large building. Buildings can vary in weight. He wasn't holding up the whole thing. That doesn't matter if he is or not. You can't really disrespect this feat, even if he's only holding up 1%. Even if he's holding up 1%, that's still impressive. Just to give you a visual perspective on how little he is compared to all the crap he's holding up. And this is high difficulty, so this one could say this is approaching his physical limit when it comes to this entire building. He was able to support the weight until he used some beam to kind of help balance it out, then use his brains to kind of help fix it, use his webs on top of it. You're probably thinking, oh, his web did a lot of the work too. Well, that is true, but don't forget, the webs is like an extension of himself because it's confirmed. Even though his web isn't a part of his actual physiology or nothing, it's technology, but we don't forget, Spider-Man can actually physically break out of his own web. These little old skinny strands of web that Spider-Man can rip, his own web, is stated to be 2.6 times as strong as steel. There was even another statement of a character saying these are stronger than steel cables, these webs. And they talk about the tensile strength, 120 pounds per square millimeter. I guess that's how he's able to make web shields that can withstand a hammer strike from Thor himself, a deity. He has special weapon that's 90% fireproof. Thanks to him getting older and more mature, his webs are constantly improving. We've seen him web powerhouses before in the newer stuff. Not just newer stuff, but even older stuff. He webbed Miss Marvel here. He's even webbed beings like Luke Cage, Iron Man. It's really hard to get a real understanding on how much he really lifted up. I think we can all assume he definitely held up more than 1% of this. I mean, this building's massive. I mean, look how much web he used here, and you see how small the humans down here look, all that he supported. Since it's kind of hard to find the Daily Bugle's official weight, let's analyze buildings in real life and what their weights are, just so we can get somewhat of an understanding of what Spider-Man did. Like, I'm not saying the Daily Bugle is this exact size. This building, for example, seems to be similar when it comes to the tallness of it, 40-story building, at least. And according to Wikipedia, buildings like this can weigh about 180 short tons or 160,000 long tons. Regardless, they're both estimations of over 100,000 tons. But even if we want to assume, okay, let's assume the Daily Bugle doesn't weigh this much. Let's just say it weighs 100,000 tons. And he couldn't support all of the weight, right? Like, let's just say it has pillars supporting its weight. Some of the weight started tilting over. That's where Spider-Man comes in. Let's look at it like that. This is still impressive because even if some of these pillars over here was helping him, he still had to support at least some of it. That's still ridiculously insane if we assume the building was at least 100,000 tons. Like, yeah, I'm seriously not trying to overhype him. He's holding up one support beam. So it's definitely implied he's not even holding up half this weight. Less than half, one could say. But all this weight, he's still freaking supporting long enough to put some beams under to help stabilize it using web, and then you can visually see how big this building was. It's a gigantic building. let's assume he only supported 1% of this. That's still 1,000 tons he had to at least support. So he's way over 500 ton range, but this is approaching his limit. This was high difficulty, but this still has to give you some type of perspective on how strong Spider-Man is though. Spider-Man Peter Parker ends up getting suits that augment his strength and gives him better strength to an unknown degree, even though he's got a different spider suit that helps his strength out. This is another occasion of a building. You see it getting blew up right here, and a lot of the rubble was falling down around him. You can kind of see how much is on him here. He had a lot of weight on him, trying to keep people safe, until of course finally collapses on him. He didn't really get to get it off of him, but yeah, he was fine after all of this though. Another building falling on him, you know. And another occasion of him in this suit, there was this crane that was this big as a skyscraper. Like, yeah, Spider-Man was able to hold this. Yo, what's up with all these occasions with different cranes? He has all this spider strength. And I haven't even talked about how hard he can punch in this video. I mean, if he can lift all this weight, imagine what his punches would feel like. He's so strong, being able to support thousands of tons and stuff. You know he has to be careful on how much power he puts behind his fist. Lucky he has villains that can handle it, like Sandman. Matter of fact, when other villains take over his body, it is confirmed that Spider-Man does hold back even against super-powered villains. He has so much power within it, he cannot just put all of his power into his fist or his strength into his fist all the time. I mean, he has to hold back. I mean, he can't just be spamming out 1,000-ton punches, right? I mean, imagine if he didn't hold back and he did this to a human. Luckily, this was a Doombot in this particular situation. Yeah, he can't be just doing this all the time. Stuff like this can really give you a perspective. Even his super villains that are super strong, like Hammerhead, we've seen him one shot make Sleepy. It's occasions like this that prove he needs to hold back, because even in characters like Doc Octopus, one of his foes, even talk about how he's like an unstoppable force when he's like mad serious. Talking about he's like a human dreadnought when it comes to his power. Throughout his adventures, believe it or not, Spider-Man doesn't just have to rely on his raw physical strength, but he's actually a trained fighter. He got trained by one of the best fighters in Marvel, Shang-Chi, an insanely good hand-to-hand combatant in Marvel Comics, developing his own fighting style known as Way of the Spider. Imagine how hard he can hit with being a trained fighter if he was to go all out, you know what I mean? Interestingly enough, before events like this, that in the past, he actually met up with Shang-Chi and he wasn't as good at martial arts. It's so funny to see that character development over the years. He actually gets training from Shang-Chi. Isn't that epic? To really show his fighting skills, he fought Madam. She got spider powers and can see into the future, and he can still fight on par with beings like this to show his fighting ability. There was this time where Spider-Man was completely depowered, so he had to rely on his fighting skills. He didn't have his spider-like strength. This is pure evidence that Spider-Man can just straight up fight. Despite this, it's proven that he can just straight up fight with raw skill, even while being depowered and using a bat. When you gotta face a whole bunch of spider-themed people that are superpowered like you have to rely on something they don't have, which is fighting skill. That's when he busts out his Kung Fu. No long-range attacks, he says, up close and personal. Targeting nerve clusters, pressure point striking with spider speed, hitting with spider strength. Oh, by the way, this also confirms that he can hit, thanks to his super strength. He can hit hard. Adding all this strength with his fighting skills is a deadly combo. He's literally like fighting an actual spider. I mean, he's had a long comic book career. We've seen him parry attacks from Iron Fist skilled fighters. Characters like Iron Fist even say that Spider-Man is more dangerous than he looks. It was even stated without his spider sense or without relying on it, Spider-Man's a good fighter. Maybe not a great fighter, but a good fighter. Still good though when it comes to fighting. When he's fighting spider beings like Kane, who are crazily juiced up and is just as strong as him, or one could say even stronger than himself, he has to rely on other things because he doesn't have the strength advantage in this particular situation. Like, he has to use his fighting skills when a being actually has the strength advantage to get the edge over a being, or one could say his battle IQ mixed with spider sense, everything put together. You can see little training sessions with Captain America here, Steve Rogers. When it comes to focusing his chi, I guess everybody has chi. So yeah, Spider-Man has actual fighting training from actual really good fighters, because it was stated your speed and your strength is amazing, but sometimes you need to breathe and focus your chi. One could say this can help his combat speed. Oh man, I haven't even got to that yet though. I mean, when you can bulldoze through this many people, I would say his striking power is pretty intense. How strong is his finger? Yeah, he has to hold back a lot. He can knock somebody out with a finger flick, y'all. I mean, this little trolley or cart or whatever, you can see him flick it and flip it over all the way with a finger flick. Punches beings where they go flying through a clock tower, for example. Most super soldier tiers are not in his strength level, like Punisher getting punched through a wall. Beings like Kingpin that are confirmed to be super soldier tier, he one punches, sleep time. You know his legs are strong, so he can strike hard with his legs, or if he wants to just straight up elbow metal doors, he can. You can get an idea of how hard he can hit by how the environment reacts to him, how he's making this little baby shockwave crumbling the ground with his ground smash here. He's not shot or punched metal. Plenty of occasions fighting tombstones Tombstone is a metahuman that's pretty strong himself. And you notice how he gets punched through this little metal railing you see here, and he still goes flying. Your boy Iron Man, he can punch hard enough to kind of chip his armor a bit. Steel vault doors, you can see him just punch clean through. So all that physical strength we seen him lifting with, he can use it in punches as well. There was this 2 feet of solid steel. Spider-Man punches a man through. Spider-Man says, "Get the heck out of my way, metal doors. You're too weak for me." We've actually seen Spider-Man encounter dinosaurs. He can just straight up blunt punch these beings with his strength and put them to sleep, make them go night-night. All that super strength he gained from being a spider helped him be able to punch real hard. Look what he does to this chimney, for example, in this case with Wolverine. Comparing his punches to a mortar, something that can penetrate and destroy buildings, one could say, based on this website's information. If we go by the real-life mortars, it was straight up stated that you need something with the concussive force equal to that of a mortar shell before you could even scratch it. Yeah, implying yet Spider-Man's hits hit hard, like something that can blow through buildings and stuff of that such. So without sugarcoating anything, this is how Spider-Man's punches would look if he hit the side of a building with his punches. Based on this evidence, they pretty much confirm you need something similar to a mortar to break through this, and he was able to scratch it with his blunt punches. Beings that can actually handle him going all out. Venom, he punches Venom this hard, for example. You see him ripping through the street. This can give you an idea of how hard he can hit as well. Yeah, Venom and him be having them classic battles, hitting Venom so hard with his punch, creating all this collateral, making cars fly in the air from their heads. Spider-Man, be careful, man. You can't be just punching Rhino to the point where he be going through multiple floors of a building. I mean, a good way to understand his power is Tombstone's power, one of the many villains Spider-Man has to fight. What's so epic about this is that Spider-Man can battle beings that withstands being in close proximity with something that can blow away buildings or do severe damage to buildings, stuff like this. And beings like Tombstone can withstand being right next to an RPG, something that could blow buildings down, basically, or a rocket launcher, basically. This pretty much shows if Spider-Man wants to layer his fist up with extra blunt power, he can hit hard enough to do damage to beings like Tombstone. Beings that can withstand attacks that can blow away buildings or a building. Stuff like this is further backing up Spider-Man's punching raw power. I mean, look what Spider-Man's punches does here, causing all of this madness. He can not only lift up these tanks that weigh at least 40 plus or 50 plus tons, but he can slam them together and break them apart. You know, busting up these tanks is ridiculously tough. More proof that he can definitely level a building with his just fist. One could say his kicks or strikes could do this to a bridge or something, thanks to all these feats, if given the opportunity at least. Like, there was this literal building, you can see Peter literally uses attacks to bust up, even punching the pillars apart and everything, to show his super strength is definitely got something to do with his punching power. And he pretty much messed up this building, even though it was due for demolition anyway. Like, yo, Spider-Man, chill out, leveling buildings. So if anybody had their doubts if he can level a building or not, it's literally shown to you. But I thought I should say this too. One could say whatever his base form can do, these armors with him can do better. We don't know to what degree though. So he's already a walking demolition in his base form. How much do these suits improve his strength? We don't really know the multiplier or anything like that. He leveled the entire building in like mere moments that it was going to take a construction team to tear down for 6 hours. And he did it way faster, showing his punching and strikes. In general, it's just way worse when it comes to his raw power output, how hard he can hit. It adds up with everything I've been saying. When it comes to the limits on how hard Spider-Man can punch, since he's a popular character, he's gotten a lot of scuffles with higher tier beings, even punching them this hard and things of that such. Narratively speaking, he's not meant to be like a planet buster, powerhouse, universe shaking type character. Even though if he's scuffled with some planet buster type character, there's clear writer intent and narrative. He's not meant to be physically on that level of the powerhouse characters. A great example of this is that how he has his own rogues gallery, people that he consistently fights that one could say those are the best ways to understand how strong he is. He has fought being outside of his rogues gallery, but there are actually some rogues gallery beings that he can actually beat that actually have a decent strength advantage over him, like Rhino. He's one of those characters. Rhino, for example, is one of them people that is probably one of the most inconsistent characters of all time because the writers don't want to make up their mind on his power level, seems like. But even Spider-Man said he fears him. Despite there being a clear strength advantage between Rhino and Spider-Man, Spider-Man being weaker of the two, Spider-Man has actually gotten W's on a being in his rogues gallery that's considered physically stronger than him still. This kind of lets you know how Spider-Man's able to push through stuff even when it's bad odds. Like here we see him knock out Rhino. And you know how I mentioned very early in the video about how these ton systems or these tons are basically like classes. They're not meant to be actually taking 80 tons itself is the limit, but rather than it's just a class. That's basically what they're trying to say about Spider-Man. Like they're trying to say Rhino is in a higher class, 80 ton class. Spider-Man's in a 10 ton class, even though he can lift more than 10 tons. It's just the class. They're trying to say they're in two different strength ranges. I guess that's what they're trying to say. This is one of them things where this is impressive. I wouldn't say this is necessarily bad writing because he's literally a part of his rogues gallery, even though the writers still don't want to make up their mind on Rhino's tier, whatever. narratively speaking, when Spider-Man has to kind of go up against big, heavy bruisers like the Hulk, it's implied he has to be careful not to get killed. Spider-Man's punches making characters in this tier flinch is impressive in and of itself. Scans like this prove that Hulk, Thor, and the Thing are in a higher strength level, but Spider-Man is still impressive. You don't necessarily have to be as strong as these guys to be impressive still, as this video has shown so far. Matter of fact, there's even certain occasions where Spider-Man blitzes Hulk and hurts his fist punching him. So, I mean, yeah, this can kind of give you an idea of Spider-Man's limits. These drawing blood feats or stagger feats are really hard to measure a character's power level, because part of me thinks that the writer might be on bath salt or something and doesn't know realistically how strong it would take to really stagger a being of this magnitude. Like, moments like this is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, him actually beating a Herald of Galactus. Yeah, I'm convinced the writer was smoking weed when he wrote this, because, but that's none of my business. I guess stuff like this happens in comics when they have multiple writers. Some writers may not understand the gaps between tiers and characters and stuff. They just write just to write, and without even caring about power levels, really. Like, I love comics, but that's the thing that annoys me about comics, is these multiple different writers, and different writers not even giving a crap about power levels. And so you get a lot of crazy occasions of characters that are lower tiers being able to harm top tiers, plus crossovers happen a lot. This type of stuff is bound to happen, Like, his body is just dense, more dense than anybody's. For example, like, you can gang up on him and you can punch him. You will hurt your hand punching him. You're not strong enough. So his body's more dense than, just like his punching power and strength, his body's dense enough to handle his. It's obvious that he can withstand a lot, because it's even confirmed that it's humanly impossible for any man to sustain the amount of physical damage you suffered and live. Obvious stuff like he can hold his breath longer than normal humans. I mean, look how his head craters this wall and he's good afterwards, showing how dense his body is. It's proof that he can withstand all the damage he can dish out. Like, for example, he was fighting this being that was pretty much amped up with other beings' strength. To be precise, he was amped up by sapping the strength of 400 people. Stated he's been hit by a whole bunch of trains for his time. Powerhouses like Miss Marvel hit him in this occasion, and the Thing hit him. Buildings worth of debris has actually fell on him. Spider-Man, you might have seen feats like this already in this video to show off his strength, but yeah, I never mentioned that his body can withstand this type of pressure being smashed on him. Like during his fights with one of his many foes, buildings crumble on him. And this is the kind of stuff he always has to survive. The Daily Bugle building itself was all around him, and he was able to withstand this, brought down by this being known as graviton. He's been in the epicenter of blasts that have taken down buildings, and he had to endure, like this Nova blast he had to withstand. Let's be honest, this is one of his craziest feats of all time, getting punched by beings from the Phoenix Force. You know how the Phoenix can split its power up into different hosts or entities and things of that sort? We've seen him be completely outclassed, but can still do decently well and take hits from these beings. Like, how is he surviving this? Because how is this possible? Yeah, he was pretty beat down, though. But it shows his willpower and resilience that he's not a normal human when it comes to durability. Out of all of Spider-Man's rogues gallery, there's a lot of beings in his rogues gallery that can withstand his hits. One of them being as strong as him, like the Lizard. We can see him make kind of sleepy. One of them being Scorpion, he can punch out, even if he's armored up. Night-Night Mr. Negative. There was this occasion where he wasn't even at full strength, like one could say depowered, and he was still fast enough to kind of evade gunfire. Like, that's crazy, depowered doing this. I think it's about time to talk about some fighting speed, or speed in general. Surprise attacks, like even against teleporters he can counter, because he can know where you're about to teleport punch him to. As a bare minimum, Spider-Man's at least 40 times faster than a normal person when it comes to his fighting speed and everything, so he can fight and react at least 40 times faster, probably a lot more though. That's just a bare minimum, I would say. The spider sense usually helps him subconsciously know where to shoot his web so he can web sling successfully. That's why he doesn't really have to pay attention when he web slings. Right here's a great example of his fighting speed using his reflexes and web together. He made like web shields like to intercept the bullets. And there's like a gazillion times of Spider-Man dodging bullets after they're fired and countering afterwards. Like, you might as well not even try to fire Spider-Man. Like, you can see the bullet on the way to him, and he's still able to move out of the way of it because of spider sense, reflex, and fighting speed put together. Reacts to rocket launchers mid-flight. Sniper shots he can react to. Daredevil even says with his heightened senses, it's hard to keep track of Spider-Man when it comes to his speed and agility. And Daredevil's not slow when it comes to fighting speed and reaction time, being able to react to stuff in 1/1,000,000th of a second in his own comic. There was even a point that Daredevil even perceived something in a nanosecond. He was able to tell there was a nanosecond pause, which is 1/10000000th of a second. So you know Daredevil's saying this about Spider-Man as a beast because he's not slow. Multiple beings trying to shoot him. Dodge the bullet, dodge, keep moving. It's just that easy when it comes to his fighting speed. All these guards trying to hit him, they straight up say he's too fast, moving too fast for his opponent to see that quick. The great thing about Spider-Man is that even if you can read his mind, you can kind of predict what he's about to do, but Spider-Man counters it saying, but can you pinpoint a target with Spider's speed and reflexes that relies on instinct and acts before he thinks? Did they say Spider-Man can fight on instinct? No wonder we be seeing Spider-Man speed blitzing, and he's faster than targeting systems can track. Imagine staring at Spider-Man through binoculars, right? You look away for a brief second and you don't even see where he's at and he's right behind you. Spider-Man has the reflexes to perceive things in slow motion. Like, because he can use his spider sense and speed in conjunction with one another to where everything looks like it's in slow motion. When a building was collapsing, it was collapsing in slow motion thanks to his spider sense and speed. Stated here, another occasion of time freezing to a crawl. Stated here, it's like a freeze frame on a VCR. Like one could say helps his fighting speed. Imagine being so fast with his reflexes and spider sense that even characters like this are saying nobody's that fast. It's getting nearer and nearer, closing the distance while also dodging. This right here is a great example of fighting speed, being able to change his clothes while falling down. I mean, this is kind of impressive. He's able to put his shield up fast enough before the bullets can even get to him. And all these people can't hit him. I'm talking about this many bots. Y'all can't hit him. Shooting at him every direction won't help. I don't think you guys really understand how fast Spider-Man is. There was these bullets. Oh, I'm not playing. They was literally following him. And he's fast enough to outrun it for a little bit. It was on this part, it's even stated here, you know, thanks to Captain America teaching him about the chi and stuff, slow down the world around you. Oh yeah, guess what? Slow it down and catch the bullets. Yo, combat speed has to be faster than bullets and missiles. I mean, you can see him react to missile here with his web and stuff. While he's in a different suit, of course, the Iron Spider. It's confirmed that Spider-Man can react in 1/1,000,000th of a second. He can think and perceive at these speeds. It's implied Spider-Man can react faster than the speed of thought. So we already know he can catch bullets. It's also confirmed he can react in 1/1,000,000th of a second at least. And don't get me started on characters that can use lightning blasts like Storm he can dodge. Like in this occasion, you know, this is Mysterio. He usually shoots fake stuff, but in this occasion, it was real lightning because Spider-Man said he can feel that, he can smell the air burning. It's real. So it's almost like this. If lightning itself was coming at Spider-Man, he can move out the way of this strike. This would imply he can react to things moving over 200,000 miles per hour. In this occasion, he's wearing an electro-proof suit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. He had different suits to fight his foes and stuff. So it makes sense for him to be able to react to lightning when one of his foes is electro. It low-key kind of makes sense with his lore to be able to dodge attacks from being this fast. So it kind of makes sense with him being able to react to lightning when it comes to fighting speed. Oh, it gets worse. He's gotten scuffles with beings that shoot things the speed of light. Even when there was this being that said he had the speed of light on his side, these laser blasts, he can't really land a hit. This could be Spider-Sense helping him know where to go before hitting him. You know, regardless, it kind of helps his fighting speed still. I mean, we seen Gladiator use his heat vision on Spider-Man and he dodged it. Does this kind of stuff prove that he can react to things moving as fast as light? It's stated here his combat speed helps with his Spider-Sense. Both of them put together state Spider-Sense going crazy, 0 to light speed in no time. They say he can definitely avoid lightning though when it comes to his fighting speed. Don't you agree with that at least? Sure, I wouldn't say these speedsters are anywhere near the Flash level of DC Comics, but we've seen Spider-Man react to speedsters mid-blitz, avoiding blows from a speedster type being that's literally looking like a blur. It's still pretty impressive, I would say. Even on this particular occasion, he's much faster than he was in the past. Yeah, other fast beings that are good fighters like Black Panther, we've seen him avoid attacks from too. Characters like Nightcrawler and Wolverine have issues keeping up with Spider-Man's speed when he was kind of giving the X-Men issues, tangling them up on each other and stuff. Domino literally has the superpower of luck. Even with her power of luck, Spider-Man even makes a fool of her still. Like, none of these people can hit him. Masters of martial arts, Spider-Man can use his spider-like speed to where he can parry all of his attacks. Like, the way they animated him looking like after images, yo, he was moving pretty quickly, I would say. But everybody, I think this is just about going to do it. Yes, he's had a lot of different armors, but he doesn't need the armors to be superhuman. We don't even know what's the percentage of how much his armors increase his strength anyway. And the great thing about Spider-Man is that when he's outclassed, he will annoy the enemy by putting web in his eyes to try to find other ways to get the advantage over a character. If he's outclassed when it comes to pure muscle and things of that such, that's what he specializes in, using his brain. And one could say prep time. I mean, look at his rogues gallery. I mean, he has people like Hydro Man and Sandman, beings that really can't be hit with normal punches, and he has to be smart enough to create devices, hacksy devices that can counter their elemental abilities, you know? That's the type of things Spider-Man has to always constantly deal with. But even when the odds are not on his side, he still never gives up. This being known as Sin Eater with the power of Juggernaut, he still won't give up even though he's outclassed physically here. Even though he stated he can't hold him back, he still won't give up. This is straight pure freaking willpower getting hit by Juggernaut here, or being powered up by Juggernaut. But how strong do you think Spider-Man is in his base state? How strong do you think his armors make him? In this video, I didn't even go over his temporary power-ups, like Captain Universe and stuff. I want to hear what you guys think though. But before I get going, I gotta say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect Spider-Man. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.